Welcome to the Have Good Ripple Effect podcast. Let's jump right in. Welcome to the Have Good Ripple Effect podcast. I'm Lisa Even, your host. And today I'm so excited to introduce to you a friend, but also someone that I consider, one of my taglines is you happen to the world, not the other way around. And this human is doing just that. When I have spoken about her in conversations with others, I don't even think I've told her this. But I usually use the word, oh, she's my optimizer friend. Like she knows how to optimize. So today we're going to be talking all about productivity, satisfaction, and of course, ripple effect and joy. We're going to sprinkle some of that in. But I would love, Marlo Higgins, welcome. Tell us a little bit about you. I would love for people out in the world to get to know just the amazing soul that you are.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I met back in the day. It's been a while and really admire what you're doing, how you've segued into all that you're doing with the ripple effect, the impact that you're making. It's super powerful. And I remember you and I came together as one of my podcast guests back in the day. And that was the original connection. You were, starting up. We're both in Midwest, coming from the state of Iowa. You have a different region within our area. And I just really felt what you were doing is just on a very high level, just very powerful for people. And that ripple effect, having those conversations, going into that space, it just, I'm a person who is a self-development junkie. I think anybody in this space is. And so, I've kind of matched my entrepreneurialism, my experience as being an entrepreneur. I call myself a triple crown entrepreneur because this is the space and where I can honestly say back in 2005, I started a company with two business partners, concept, idea, scratch, high risk, venture capital money. We were all in, we test marketed the product for 6 months, took it to market. I was hired in that structure and that team as the VP of sales. My main focus was to start and oversee a sales team, which made perfect sense, right? I had an HR background, so human resources. I'd worked 10 years of nonprofit community service work, and that's actually how I met this particular business partner. And she said, I've seen what you've done around fundraising and connecting people and all those things. And she goes, I think you'd make a great VP of sales. Well, Lisa, I never held that title before. That title was brand new to me. I'm like, well, what do you mean, a VP of sales for your startup company? But one fall, we met in our dining room with a venture capitalist who had the seed money to start us out. They just said, hey, this is the vision. This is what it looks like. But you'd be champion to take this product to market. You would be the one to build the sales organization, take it from there. And so there were so many unknowns in that entrepreneurial experience. And that was my first start. So I started that team. We led multimillion-dollar sales with this product. We were in 39 states, developed an international market. I mean, if all the stars could have perfectly aligned, they did. My approach to building that sales organization was a lot like human resources. Interviewed, people got put on waiting lists. Like there was a whole bunch of magic sauce that went into that opportunity. And so, I always like to say people are my product, and they always have been, right? It's like training them, leading them, developing them, everything about people and getting someone to win at the end of the day. That's where my joy meter comes into play professionally. I've just always been a fan of helping others win. And so that opportunity was the first of the Triple Crown. Number two, then I was 3 years into that opportunity, and 2008 worldwide recession, husbands in finance. It was like everything was tricky and risky for the whole world. And I, unfortunately, at 36 months in, we were 3 years into that company, I was being wooed with other opportunities, other people, a chance to try my hand again at turning around a sales team. Now, this company was established. They were 6 years old. They had a sales team. But I was able to come in with my people skill set and turn that team around. We took profits up 220%. We did that in 180 days. So it was a 6-month booster shot. We totally took the way that those leaders were operating in business, what they were doing. They were missing some of the key fundamentals of leadership, helping people win. And so that opportunity came into play. It was a wild experience. So I'm 5 years in, having the time of my life. I've been an entrepreneur, not really understanding my true role, but figuring it out as I go along. And 2010, unfortunately, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And that really was a huge personal setback for me. I was at the top of my game, doing all the things that I love to do. And at that point in 2010, I found myself in that fall season. I needed to take a year off. So 2011, I was a professional patient, did all the things that I needed to do to be who I am today, strong, healthy as a horse. And then when through that experience, I said, okay, if this is my gift in life, this is how I'm going to look at of how I operate, how I interact, who do I want to be with, what do I want to do? And that's when my personal brand developed. I said, hey, I'm going to take everything I've done, everything that my proven track record has shown, and I'm going to build my own personal brand. So 2012, we stepped out. That's the business I operate today. It's 2024. It'll be, I've been at this for 20 years next
Yeah.
year. So,
Ah,
so triple crown, right? Start a company, rebrand another, launch my own. So it's all of those things in there that I work with people on. And as you know, as an entrepreneur, it's the path that is the least paved, the one that you really have to figure it out. It is not, it's only for the chosen few and the few who choose. It's a big job, and it's something that I love doing, and I've just immersed myself in it. I've grown and launched podcasts, published books, work with clients nationwide, and so that is who Marlo Higgins is.
I love that. I always said, I want to be like, okay, but just for like one moment. And I'm going to ask you this question and you're going to laugh because you're like, this wasn't like one of the questions you said you were going to ask. But
Yeah.
if I imagine, 10-year-old Marlo Higgins, did you ever think that you would be on this journey? I'm wondering, like, was a business ever like kind of in the, like a little seed of like, oh, someday I want to do that? Or is this something that you just kind of look back and laugh and kind of think like, if I could go back, I would tell that little girl, like, just wait, there's going to be an amazing ride ahead. But was this in the plans?
Super spectacular question. Yes. Actually, I always vision myself as a female CEO, boss lady
I
at the
love
very
it.
top of the charts. 10 years old, by the age of 12, I literally was very much in knowing of myself. I grew up in a single parent
Yeah.
household, so things weren't easy. And I watched my mom, she sold real estate. We went from that, I was born in California, lived in Utah, moved to Minnesota, ended up in Iowa, all by the time I was 19. And
Yeah.
so I think my experiences guided me. My 10-year-old self probably readied or maybe had a feeling that what I'm going to do in my life was going to come into play. And
Yeah.
who I am today, being a freedom warrior, I, wrote a book, The Making of a Maverick, building champions in business and in life. And so it's champions. It's how we operate in life, how we operate in business, how it all ties together, how we as humans want to operate. And I think, I do at 10 probably had a quick vision of, yeah, I'm going to be something bigger
Someday.
than myself and something probably along this line. So, I'm a very faith-based person. I'm very intuitive. I listen to those cues. And I
Yeah.
think I've just followed the path of what have meant to be on for my entire life.
Oh, I love that. That like kind of makes me smile because I think it's interesting to have us paired together because I never imagined owning a business. Really, not for
Yeah.
any other reason than I just didn't know or think or even believe that I could. In my small town, a lot of people like have particular jobs, right? Like teacher, lawyer, nurse. And so this idea that you would be an entrepreneur, it really wasn't until probably after grad school that I started to be like, maybe some of my skill sets could do that. So I love to almost hear, like, for any of our listeners that are thinking, like, oh, that was me. Or like opposite,
Mhm.
like, oh, that was me. Like I kind of always knew. It just like makes
Yeah.
me smile because I think you can come at things from so many different angles and still make a difference. And I love to hear you kind of lay that out in a similar yet different way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, and I come from a very dominant spirit, a very high level of confidence. And actually, Lisa, very very natural in that
Yeah.
way. It's not like I've ever been that person who said, I have to go build confidence. It was just it's a God thing. Like it's a God
Yes.
talent. I just tap into it. I know that that is a gift and that is something that I
Yeah,
help and have to help other people. So I exude that level. But for me, it's just who I am at the core. It's
at
not
the
like I
core,
try to
yeah.
be the boss lady or I try to be that dominant, confident person. That's just literally how I am in service. Like that's how I'm supposed to show up.
It's your
So
gift. I
kind
love
of
that.
ties it all together. I'm, like I said, self-development junkie, very in tune. And I love to help other people get in tune. And that's why, when I talk about satisfaction over productivity, it's like tuning in, getting a little bit more granular and why optimization is sexy. But is it really optimization and productivity, or is it really something around our feelings and satisfaction with our day and all of that? So yeah,
And I wanna
lot
go
of
there
lot of good
because
stuff.
oh, so many good things because when I think about pairing almost like get it done with feeling, oftentimes, you'll hear people think like, well, I just need to get it done. We just need to get it done. And they almost skip past the like, is it satisfying? Do we like it? Kind of the almost of the it goes like a blur. And so tell me about that when you're working with folks or even maybe your approach to it. How do you pair those two things together to be productive and satisfying? Because I do the same with joy. I'm like, hi, we can be busy and joyful. Hi, we can have good,
Absolutely.
like good ripple effects and actually have a little fun. So from your angle, talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, and especially we go back to that entrepreneur, right? Those are the clients I serve, small business owners, people who are
Yeah.
charting a path for themselves. They own their own independent companies. And so they're trying to drive and chart the vision or, drive the ship in the right direction. And there's so much that goes into it. And what I have found, the thing that gets people most connected is and I've learned this about when I wrote the book. Let's just step back for a minute. When I
Yeah.
wrote the book, Making of a Maverick, I had to really study people and performance. Okay. I'm the person, I don't know about you, Lisa. I'm guessing you're similar, but I'm the person who wakes up and wants to, that I know that I will do more by 8 a.m. than most people will do all day. I'm like, there's just this level of like, I think that's where I just get all of my, just feelings of accomplishment is getting a lot done. Okay, so you take that, and I think that's a person, so you're always striving, you're always pushing, and so I had to really truly understand, like, what is it about me? Like, why do I feel like I need
Yeah.
to slay the day right out of the gates? Like, what is this all about, right? And so just understanding that high performers, high achievers, there's three core things that we need. We need to be inspired, we need to
Mhm.
be validated, and we need to be recognized.
Yeah.
And so when it comes down to it, so really understanding and we want to recognize ourselves. Like we have to go back to the core of like we want to recognize that we are the person who wakes up and gets more done by, 8 a.m. than most
Yeah.
people. But it's just like, why? What is driving that in internally? And I
Yeah.
think it's this recognition piece where it is part of what we need to really thrive. And so it's a way to understand that that recognition comes in our performance and our productivity.
Yeah, well, when a business or an entrepreneur comes your way and is thinking, they're saying to you, like, I want to be more productive because I find that word to be so loaded, right? There's so many layers
Very.
to productivity. How do you help them, like, even get started? Because I just want to be a fly on the wall to one of those meetings of like, so someone comes and says, we're not being productive or I'm not being productive. What do I do? How do I get there? Talk me through like, how does that conversation go? Because I'd be thinking in my mind, like, in which ways do you want to be productive? And all of those types
Mm.
of questions. How do you help people discern that?
No, we tee it up by asking, how do you want to feel? How do
Mhm.
you want to feel?
Yeah.
And then you take those feelings and then you align specific actions. And
Yeah.
when you do that, when your feelings are the driver, the actions get connected to the feelings. What happens?
Yeah.
You do your best.
You get
Okay.
results.
So, like, everything's plugged in. And
Yeah.
so, how do you want to feel? Peaceful, energized, empowered, and loved. Those are the four core feelings that I stand on point with. I want to be peaceful in everything I do. I want to be empowered. I want to be energized, and I want to be loved, like at the end of the day. And so, really understanding what is peaceful. Well, for me, peaceful is present, like as anybody knows. And prior to getting
Mm,
onto this conversation, is just like, you know what, I'm going to listen intently to what Lisa asked me. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to forward think. I'm not going to get nervous. I'm just going to be present and I'm going to listen to what you need, because the way that you ask the question is a service back to our audience. Those that are listening to this, they're going to be hearing that and they'll be like, wow, okay. So peaceful is very important to me. Just being
yeah,
present right here, right now. And so when you get in the room, when you're working with clients, it really, I like to say it starts with a feeling.
yeah,
How do you want to feel? And then that leads into, okay, what can we do in order to feel like that?
yeah. I love that. And
So
when
that's
you
where the conversation goes. And then it leads into, okay, if you want to feel like energized, what do I need to do? Right. And so you really have to go deep into what does feeling energized really mean? What does that look
yeah,
like? And so then we connect these actions that we take in order to feel that way. And then when we do, we have these like amazing outputs.
yeah. Well, I can just imagine someone seeking more productivity or, more of something. That's a place to start. And I
Yeah.
think oftentimes, or at least I do, when I don't know where to start, I either hesitate or avoid. Right. I'm like,
Mm,
oh, well, I'll come back to that later. I'll come back to
yeah.
that later. And so when I hear you like talking, a part of me is like thinking to myself, I should write some of the things down of like, how do I want to feel? And what would I say against that? Because it really truly makes you face the present. Like,
So
where
here's
are
an
you at?
example. Yeah, let me
Yeah,
take you like one step deeper. Okay. So let's say you have the feeling of being divinely feminine. Maybe
yeah,
today, like you've just done like maybe all the yard work and you've had all weekend and you didn't shower and get pretty and cute and everything. So you're
yeah,
rolling into your Monday and you're going into it and you'll be like, God, in order for me to be on point today, in order for me to crush the day, I really want to be divinely feminine. Like that's just a feeling I want to give. Okay.
yeah,
The action that you could take to be divinely feminine, maybe today you wear a skirt
yeah,
instead of slacks. Because when you wear a skirt, you kind of maybe step more into your femininity. Those are the kinds of things. So it's just like there's this bigger connection to it, but it
yeah,
starts with you. And like when you do want to get teams to perform, how do we get people motivated? Those are goals. Like what goals do you want to set? So inspiration's vision driven,
yeah,
motivation's goal driven. And so in order to inspire, we have to say, okay, let's paint a vision. What do we want to see happen at the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the year? But if we want to be motivated, what goals? And so then we have those goals and we say, okay, why do you want to hit the goal? Like, what is it? Like, how are you going to feel when you have $100,000 month?
yeah,
So then once you understand and you can connect to that, then your $100,000 month becomes easy to achieve. So you're
yeah.
connecting at it in a way different, much bigger way.
I love that, and I like that you gave a couple of examples that were a little bit more on the, like, life meets business. The one thing and I've told you this, I think, a couple of times. Talk me through how your summer sabbatical makes you feel and how that
Mm,
came about, because I think listening to you talk, I'm like, "Oh, she walks the walk." She actually has this corner
yeah.
of her life where she does this, right? And I'm assuming there was a moment where you said, "I wanna feel this way, and this is what it's gonna get me there." So would you be willing to share that corner of your world? Because I know we were emailing this summer, and you're like, I'm gonna be
I'm
gone
out.
for" yeah, "I'm out." And so share what your summer sabbatical, or maybe you have a better name for it, but that's what when I think of it when I think of you.
Oh my gosh. So Lisa, like super on point, and especially anybody listening to this conversation, right? And wanting to learn and have joy and have these impacts in the world. It was on my business plan. Like when I came off of my year of being a professional patient, right? I had some really big stuff happen. Our boys were 13, 15. I mean, life was like really
Yeah.
hard and like unknown, let's
Mhm.
just say. So I allowed myself to tee up my perfect life. Like, who do I want to work with? What do I want to do? What do I want to look like? Okay. Literally, I wrote my business plan from that space. Like, if
Yeah.
I only had so much time remaining, how would I want it to operate? And that puts you in the driver's seat, right? You have full
Yeah.
control in that space. All right. So, and I don't like the word control. I don't know if anybody does, but it's intention. Like I really lead a life of intention. And
Yeah.
so for me, when I wrote the business plan, Lisa, it was a 4-day work week and a 30-day sabbatical. Like no
Boom.
questions asked, right? So going in with that level of certainty, so then you just work your business around it. You're like, okay, how can I optimize? How can I have levels of production? How can I serve? How can I do this if that's what I'm planning to do? So I literally have a 4-day work week. And so how do I work my week? Monday is growth, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's when all the revenue is driven. I don't work Fridays. I have a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
The reason, because that's very purposeful for me, because I'm a type A, I'm a very high achiever, very hard driver, and I go hard and fast for those 4 days. And guess what? It takes those 3 days to kind of like
Ah.
yeah, like just
Yeah.
kind of refuel. And so
Yeah.
again, when you know thyself, it's easy to make those types of decisions. And I just knew that like I needed an extra day before, when the boys were young, still home. We're empty nesters now, but I wanted a whole day to prep and get ready for the weekend so I could be peaceful, so I could be
Yeah.
present. So my weekends were all about them doing the things that I really want to do in life. And so that 4-day work week came into play. And then we are very fortunate. We've had a lake home right on the water up in northern Wisconsin. My husband and I purchased it over 25 years ago. I mean, come on. If you're in the Midwest, like summer, that's a gift.
You're
And
heaven.
so I am very intentional, like, yes, I'm gonna have my own company, I'm gonna run a business, I'm gonna, have production, I'm going to provide for the family, just like everybody else that's providing for the family, but I'm gonna do it in a way that allows me to still enjoy the things that we've created, that we've
Yeah.
provided for. And so, because it's a waste if you're not at the lake, if you're not kayaking and, reading a good summer book and all of those things. And so that's kind of how all of that came into play. Very clear intentions. Now, does the business shut its doors? No. Do I have a team? Yes. And just like you, Lisa, like we create our environments that make us thrive. And for me, I stay in my lane. I know what the thing I'm really, really good at. I'm people, not paper. So when it comes to
Yeah.
paper, when it comes to links, when it comes to schedule, anything in that space, my team handles that because
Yeah.
that's their strong suit. The thing that I do is I work with people. I'm doing podcast interviews. I'm guests just like I am today with you. I'm coaching, I'm presenting, I'm connecting. Those are the things that I enjoy doing. And the rest I know as an entrepreneur, you have to really find where your gifts are at. And that's when you can say, I never work a day in my life. We've heard that over and over, but that's truly how you get there. You're
Yeah.
intentional about what are the things that light you up that you can make and connect that really make it a reality. So that 30-day sabbatical, July, it's kind of oozed into July and August. And who knows? It might be a 90-day sabbatical. I'm not gonna like put a, too many guardrails on that one because live a big life and see where it takes you.
I love that. And I think that there's the one thing that every conversation that we've had, because when we first met, I probably remember me being like this very energetic and almost, I wouldn't say timid, but a little bit of like, how did you do that? Like, can you share, because I really was trying to see like, how does this work? And one of the things that I often hear from you, you don't say it, but I think you do this for people is that you give them permission. And I
Oh,
think you give them permission by doing.
yeah.
And I think, even on my business plan, that's something that I strive for and want. So just so you know, when I have my first summer sabbatical, I'm going to send you a little message and be like, I just want you to know I'm out of the office for the next 30 days. Don't bother me,
Shh,
friend. And it's your fault. Love you. Bye. Because I
love
think
it.
until I had really heard someone doing it, it's almost like you
Mhm.
have to see it in order to be it sometimes. And
Mhm.
so I want you to
Yeah.
like acknowledge that of I think you're probably inspiring people and giving permission in
Yes.
ways that you might not even know. Because literally my husband's career, he works part-time in person, part-time on the computer. And we have it, like a few years out where we could just like carve out a time.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, well, my friend does a summer sabbatical thing. And he goes, and so, it's almost like you're giving people that permission to go there. So on A, kudos. And also just know that hopefully someone else out there will email you and be like, hey, you don't know me. but I heard about you and I'm taking a summer sabbatical.
Permission's a big word. I mean, so for me, honor and respect are huge, right? You have to honor yourself, you have to respect yourself. And when you do that, then other people will do the same for you, but it starts with
Yeah.
you, right? So you are a mirror. And so if I'm going to honor who I am or where I want to go, then I have to, again, like you said, walk the talk. I absolutely do. That's integrity. Integrity stands so
Yeah.
tall for me. I am going to do the things that I ask other people to do because, and again, leading by example, because I have taught so many people that they can do a 4-day work week or they can have a 30-day
Yeah.
sabbatical. And even my team, they get to take the foot off the gas a little bit, right? Things change. We go into that with a really clear 30-day plan. Like they know. Then it's all the behind the scenes stuff, like our time optimization calendar, which we'll talk about maybe in a minute or
Yeah.
two, coming out with new programs. That is our time to create. And that's our
Yeah.
time when we're kind of out of the norm, out of our uh, clear routines, and it gives us a creative moves. It gives us the chance to kind of think outside the box. And I'll tell you, I mean, I run hard for 6 months. I take 30 days off. I'm all teed up and set, ready to go and run the race full on fast
Yeah.
at the end of the year because I've allowed myself that space to be able to do that. A lot of energy.
Ah, so good. Okay, I have one more question and then I want to turn it to where like people can figure out how do I be her friend? Like how do I work with her? And
Okay.
my question is around pacing because you and I have super high probably like social batteries as well as like energy batteries, like I feel like some people are like, "Are you like the Energizer bunny?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I don't know. I could always do more." But you're just operating quick and fast. How do you think about pacing for someone who is wanting to be a higher achiever, but they just have a different battery. Maybe they're a little bit more introverted, or they're just like, gosh, I'm in the throes of having little kids, but I still want
Mhm.
to operate a high level. How do you think about or approach kind of the pace that one can work at? Because that's a layer of productivity.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, it's a great question. No, and I think you need to tap into, and I think again, it goes back to like, what do you want from your day? Like, what are the
Mm,
things you want to achieve? Again, that permission word's going to come alive. I don't believe people need to do 100 things in a day. I think they need to do three. And
okay.
so there's a strategy that I created, the 30-60-10 formula. And that's what that does when we talk about pace and optimization. If you understand that there's really only three things that you need to do in a day. Now, those three things have subsets. Okay.
Yep.
But you put an anchor in the ground and I'll share with those three things. It's growth. Okay.
Okay.
Personal and professional growth, service. That's doing your job. That's everything that Lisa does during the day. For me, like that would be coaching, presenting, that
Yeah.
level of service. That's just doing your job. And then the follow up and the follow through. And that's the safety net. That's the thing that
Yeah.
catches us. And then putting a percentage. So 30% of our time is focused on growth. I can
Okay.
stand in conviction. That's 2 hours in a day. That's 10 hours in a week. That's 40 hours in a month compounded. So if
Yes.
you spend an entire week of every month growth focused, guess what? You're going to get growth.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Love
you're
it.
doing it intentional. You're not like, because I find this with entrepreneurs all the time. We're service, service, service. Like, and we're always out there and we're serving, we're working with contracts, we're building our businesses, but then the pipeline dries up. And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, snap.
Wait a
Okay.
minute.
Then we need to go from service to like, oh my God, I need to be in growth mode again. But just imagine if you found a simpatico where
Yeah.
every day you're growing, you're serving, you're following up, following through, buttoning it up, having integrity, doing what you said you're going to do, and then you breathe. And then you start the same thing
Can
tomorrow.
you
So
imagine? I
30,
mean,
60, 10. It's like, it's just this like rhythm. And
yeah.
so here's the thing, anybody listening. So the person who wants to be in that space, they want to learn. Then it's kind of finding out, okay, what does growth even mean to you? We
Yep.
make that list. We take 1 to 2 things off that list every day in that space, and we take that action. And now we're in that growth mode. The service stuff, that's just like doing our jobs, and the follow up and the follow through. Again, billions billions of dollars are lost because people don't follow up and follow through. Lisa, I'm sure you see this all the time.
Yeah.
People don't respond back to the email. They don't get you what they said they were going to. And so that's what I'm talking about with that follow up and follow through. Like just reach
Oh,
around at the end of the day. Make sure that when you look at your list of what you did today, you circle back around. Did everything get buttoned up? And then you also that kind of closes all those gaps and kind of gives us a like, oh, I can just, walk away, segue
Yeah.
into the evening knowing that you did everything. And you're so it's really in that space of having simpatico, having the ability to perform, but doing it in a way that you understand I really only need to do 3 things, and then it's percentage of time to do them.
I like that. It gives a lot of alignment. I was just meeting with I'll call her a future entrepreneur. She just made the decision to become one, right? So she's kind of sitting in that like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
How?
And we were, yes, she's a friend. So we weren't really having like a business coaching conversation, but just a little bit more of like so what will that look like? And she's like, "Well, I'm just not sure how I'll spend my days yet." And we were running out of time and I wanted to like I want to circle back with her and be like, "Okay, well, what do you think that should look like?" But our conversation today, I'm like, I'll have to be like, "Hey, please listen to this podcast episode." Because as she
Yeah.
starts to think about how she organizes her time and how she thinks about how she's being productive, I think that formula will be highly strategic and helpful for her to be able to be like, because sometimes we look around and we think, where do I start? Where do I start? What do I do?
Yeah.
And then you get in panic mode. And of course, then you can't sleep at night because you're like, what do I have tomorrow? What am I doing?
Yeah.
So I love
Like this
that. That's great.
cycle. The other thing too, we wanna thrive as entrepreneurs, right? We wanna do all the things, but here's the thing, you can't do everything, and I think that's a good point you make, like, there's so much to do, I don't know how to break out the day. If you can understand and I've found this, I've done the research, I've really put a lot of energy into how this formula was built. It's worked for the 2 prior companies that I was a part of. It works in my own practice with the
Yeah.
thousands of clients that I have served in this space. It is the game changer in our industry. We have a tracker, clarity and action tracker, that helps people understand that. It shows them the pattern, it measures whether they're on point or not. So, like all of these things, but I believe in simplicity. I believe in peace and ease
Yeah.
and like having fun and, the energy. Okay. Growth is energy. When you're growing, that's what's giving you energy. And I don't think people realize that. And energy is also, you're very excited about what you do. You have a level of satisfaction. Just that is fueling your energy. So like growth and satisfaction, all those things are giving you that natural energy to keep crushing it. And when you need to step back, it's like, you stop growing and it's just like the
Yeah.
minute that you take on something new and you stretch and challenge yourself, boom, that energy level takes off again.
It does. Well, and I laugh. We've only like scratched the tip of the iceberg in our conversation. Tell me and tell folks listening how they can either connect with you, collaborate with you, and then give us a little like taste into what you're working on. Cause we'd love to be along for that ride as folks kind of
Yeah.
join the bandwagon. We're like, get on here, get up here.
Well, thank you. Generous to ask. Of course, you can find me marlohiggins.com. It's that simple. All the resources are on our website. We have a messaging with Marlo tool that if you text the word clarity, and I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes, there's a number you can text to, and it gives you like it's access to me in your pocket. It is, messaging that via text. It's real simple. We have found in the world that we are today that everything is moving at the speed of light. We need to connect with people in very unique and very effective ways. And so
Yeah.
that's also another way that you can reach us is by being part of our messaging with Marlo. And again, we share tips, pointers, and things. And then what we're working towards, and again, you've heard me talk about time a lot because time is one of our greatest assets, right? Time and money. And so when you're purposeful with your time, you can't buy it back. You can
Yeah.
make more money. You can do all those things, but time is so precious. It's the biggest commodity out there. And so working with entrepreneurs to really maximize, understand time, how to leverage it, use it, what needs to go into it. And so we have created a time optimization calculator. It is actually just getting worked. We've got some of our
Ooh.
European developers that are working with us on this. We just had a call right before this interview about it, and it is coming to market very, very soon. It will be a complimentary tool. So it will be on marlohiggins.com website. You can connect to it. and it's going to give you an understanding of your output based on that theory of what I talked about with the 30,
Yeah.
60, 10 formula, with the growth, the service, the follow-up, like how you are spending your time. And then it's going to be able to show you, what areas you can kind of tweak or omit, pivot, change, that's going to get you into that active and consistent mode of how you leverage the time that you have.
Oh, how cool is that? I mean, when I think about even my day, as you were listing off the categories, in my mind, growth is the one for me that always is just a little lower. And I will
Yeah.
admit, just like, Girl Scouts honor here, that I've gotten better and I've been listening to audiobooks while then, and some of that, right? Yeah.
Yep.
But a little part of me has really done it on the outskirts of my day. And I'm thinking like, oh, 10 hours. Like, how do I like put that in my day? And so I'll be excited to try the tracker because I feel like that will help me almost get a clearer picture so that I
Yeah.
can be like, okay, what are we working with here? Because I don't always think about necessarily what did I do
Yeah.
or how, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, next meeting, next project. So I
Yeah.
love
Next,
that.
next,
Yeah.
next. Right. And so then we lose intention. And so, and again, when you wake up in the morning and you say, I only have 3 things to do today,
That feels good.
it's light. It's like, I got this. Okay. Now those 3 things may be really, really difficult things, right? Maybe, you're gonna go into a public speaking, opportunity, and that's one of your growth things that you're gonna do, and it's gonna stretch and challenge you. But, I mean, it's like you just understand, I only have to do this. Now,
Yeah.
it's not always the easy stuff, but it's just that simple. When we can teach entrepreneurs peace and ease, simplicity with operation, they maximize their outputs like 10x. And it's
Yeah.
just because we're going into it on how we want to feel, how do we want to use our time, really going introspective, being in understanding of like, okay, let's take what you've just put down and let's customize that and get you there. I've taken people from 65, 70-hour work weeks down to 21-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
Patrick, one of my clients, owns his own insurance company, has a full staff. Um, Marlo, oh my God, like I'm going crazy. I'm losing my interest in life. I have 5 kids. Like, how do I do all of this? And so we
Yeah.
kind of just went through and said, okay, you know, you don't, can you sustain a 65-hour work week for the next 20 years? Okay. Can you sustain a 21-hour work week? Well, yeah, okay, and does that
Yeah.
give you more time to go play hockey and play with the kids? So those are the kinds of things that we talk about, but everybody is different, and we just try to find that best right fit for every single one of them.
I love that. The best right fit. And I hope that folks walk away with knowing that you can have a lot of joy and you can make a lot of impact. And I love this idea of thinking about it in the gift of time. So if you have just been listening and you want to follow along, we'll put all of Marlo's contact information in the show notes so you can get it there. If you have not subscribed or followed to the podcast, do it. And if you would like to get any joy or good ripple effect tips, you can go to lisaeven.com and you can grab those there. But Marlo, thank you so much for joining us. It was my pleasure to have you.
Lisa, you're the best. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Visit lisaeven.com to learn about events and grab a copy of my book, Joy is My Job.